to another edition of Dad's Divorce Live. I'm Matt Allen, editor of DadsDivorce.com. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and while most of the attention will be paid to abused women, our viewers know all too well how prevalent domestic violence against men is. Our viewers also know about false allegations of abuse being used against them. So joining me today to discuss the perspective of domestic violence against men in divorce and custody cases is Cordell Cordell attorney Heather Biagi. So Heather, thanks for joining me.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So we sort of talked about the evidence needed to disprove false allegations or to prove that you were abused. But how can you, preemptively prevent these from happening?
You know, as far as everything goes, it kind of depends on what kind of parties you're dealing with. If you're dealing with parties who don't get along and are going through a divorce, but they've never had a history of violence, neither one of them is overly aggressive, and by aggressive I mean aggressively wanting one party out of the house or not. You know, I don't advise my clients too much about worrying about this maybe false order protection that might be filed. But in cases where I know what the posturing is going to be, if it's a case where there's a lot at stake, and by a lot I mean money, or mom has it in her head that dad should not have any time with the children.
Right.
If I see the case going that way, then I tell my client, if she starts a fight with you, you walk away. If she tries to say anything to you, you walk away. Be careful what you text her. She's going to text you something awful. Be careful what you write, because writing is so powerful because
Right.
there's no context to it and there's no tone. So while you might say something and it's a joke, or you might say something you've been saying for years, they could take it to the judge and say, well, here's where he threatened to do this to
Right.
me. And that's not really what happened.
Now, finally, if you have successfully proven that the allegations against you of domestic violence are false, are there what do you get out of it? Is the alleging party punished, or are you just happy the charges were dropped?
Well, certainly, again, I think this varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction and state to state, okay? And it also, again, is very dependent on what judge you're in front of. However, there's a couple things that you can potentially get out of it, such as your attorney's fees. You can always request the judge that since they filed a frivolous action against you, that you get your attorney's fees. Again, it will depend on your jurisdiction and your judge how likely they are to award those things. Probably the most beneficial thing that you can get out of it is ruining the other party's credibility. I tell my clients every time I speak with them, anytime you're going to go to court, don't embellish, don't shade it to your favor, tell the truth. You don't want to get stuck in whether it's an untruth or shading it some way and they can catch you in that, because when you lose your credibility with the judge, or you've proven that you are not an honest person in front of that judge, the judge will remember it, and there is nothing an attorney, I don't care how good they are, can do to rehabilitate their client once the client has lied to the judge or said a mistruth or shaded things. And certainly these are huge allegations. They're not taken lightly per se. What I would do strategically in my case is consistently, if we were having hearings in the dissolution proceeding, I would consistently bring up, Judge, you remember when she filed the order of protection and it was unfounded? You remember when she made these allegations of abuse and they were completely unfounded?
Right.
At what lengths will this person go to get what they want? I mean, they'll put their honesty on the line.
Yeah.
And that's more where you get the realistic benefit. If you want to know what to really expect, it's more attacking her credibility and using it for future instances in your case.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, if you have a GAL involved, because there are these allegations of abuse, maybe not about the kids, but they feel like they need to have, because of some of the allegations, we need to get a GAL. The GAL is a human being too, and they're a court representative.
Right.
If you don't think that that's not going to shade their view to a certain degree on their final recommendation, I don't think that's realistic. Now, they may never admit that, but they're going to know, okay, at what lengths is mother going to go to get what she wants out of this case,
Right.
and is it worth it? I mean, is it worth giving up, honesty or shading things in order to get what you want out of a divorce? And again, you get caught, it's the worst possible thing that can happen to your
Right, that's a great
client.
point. That credibility is everything.
It is, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Heather, again for
All right.
joining me. Appreciate it.
Very good, thank you.
That was Cordell Cordell attorney Heather Biagi, and I'm Matt Allen, editor of DadsDivorce.com, and that'll do it for this edition of Dad's Divorce Live.